Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Gaarawarr's Guide, our deep dive versions. Today's deep dive is going to be Gaarawarr's Guide to Items and Consumables, of which there are a couple of one and many of the other, and we're going to go into all of those today. Quick housekeeping. If you do have questions about items and consumables, and as we're going through all of this, go ahead and use the little question colon down there instruction, throw it into the chat. As when we get into the second half of the show, so in approximately an hour, we will go into the Q&A. We have the wonderful Jay on the C&E Games account. They will be pulling questions so that I can focus on explaining things in this first half. And then we'll do a little transition into the second half, and I'll do all of the stuff that's on our topic first in terms of questions, and then I'll hit, if we have any free time, I'll hit the rest. There have been a lot of people the last couple weeks, which is great. That means there's lots of new faces in the Idle Champion community, and lots of maybe new people coming to shows, since this is, we've had Mars's Guiding Hand on Saturdays for a little while, and now we have this on Saturdays, so I think a lot more people are coming out in general to watch streams. That's fantastic. So make sure to get your questions in if you want them answered. I will do my best. We will see what we got going today. I'm just going to let the game kind of run in the background, because what we're talking about is stuff that we'll see mostly in our inventory. So it's just going to do its thing. So let's dive in, shall we? So in terms of items and consumables, usually the first question people ask is, what even are items and consumables in this game? We'll tackle items first. I specifically separate the two because items tend to be... everything that you get tends to come from chests or the patron shop when it comes to both of these. But specifically, items are basically anything that you can get from opening a chest that doesn't go into your inventory. So if it's not showing up, on this screen here when you open your inventory, it's going to be what I refer to as an item here. So that's going to be any of your pieces of gear that you get for your champions, and also maybe any of the feats that you get for them as well that come out of those. Is that a little pop-up? Whereas everything that shows up in this inventory, barring a couple exclusions, are consumables. The only things that aren't really, I wouldn't classify as consumables, are your gems and your time gate pieces. These are more currency. You can't just, consume them to get bonuses, not directly like you can with these. These are things that they've just, I guess, decided to store these in our inventory, but they also show up if you hover up here. Like, you can see how many gems you have for the shop and how many time gate pieces you have up here. You don't necessarily need to open your inventory for that. So in terms of gear, gear is basically all of these items that you're going to see on your champions. We have item slots is what they're referred to. You get 6 item slots per character, usually just referenced as slot 1 through 6. And each slot can have a different item with a different bonus. As you can see, they tend to run the gamut of things from bonuses stuff for all champions, bonuses for specific champions, bonuses to their abilities, and then things referencing their ultimates. This tends to be how they set up items. You can also find, if your platform has it, kind of a list and a visual aid to the item slots themselves in the collections, and where you can see what you've collected, like the items, the different rarities and versions, and guilds, and we'll get into all of that here in a moment. But the gear system overall, as a whole, is basically a power progression system for the game. You are increasing the power of each individual champion when you're looting gear out of silver and gold chests of various kinds. This is one of the few power progression systems in the game that doesn't have a hard cap. So other progression systems that we've talked about so far, the main one is the favor into blessings. Like, favor doesn't have a hard cap in the sense that you stop earning it, but it does kind of, there is a point where your champions level up to what we call a soft cap. They can favor no longer increases their damage, so it is capped in that sense. Where in blessings, I mean, there's only a fixed amount of blessings, so These types of systems have a cap to them that occasionally gets raised, whereas gear, you can keep adding to the item levels of gear by getting duplicates endlessly, as far as we know. The only exception is for ultimate attack cooldowns, which do have a cap, but that's because you max out your ultimate attack cooldown reduction at 75% of whatever the initial starting value is. It won't go over that. But that is kind of the exception to the rule for items. But as you can see, like, we've got item levels, you know, anywhere from 49 to 129, 142 on this character. But then if we look at my Brunor, who's a core champion, who's been getting item levels since the game came out, well over 1,000, right? So, but then you see this is capped out. It's not going to go above this ever. This is kind of what we mean by it. It just kind of, this form of progression with gear just goes forever and ever, basically. There's even an achievement in game for 5,000 item levels, so keep that in mind. So how do you get gear and feats? Specifically, as we said, silver and gold chests of any kind will drop gear. Silver chests have a limit of what the let me use the actual names: common, uncommon, and rare, which is basically white, green, and blue. They will drop those, although blue is very hard to come by in a silver chest. But there are no rules to how that's going to drop, other than that if you have no gear on a champion, you're guaranteed when you open a silver chest to have one of those pieces drop into a slot that you don't have any gear in. Whereas gold chests, they're going to drop, and this is any kind of silver or gold chests, whether generic or named. They're going to drop the green, blue, and purple, so uncommon, rare, and epic items. And the rules there are you're always going to get upgrades when you open one, up to the point where you have full blue. So to kind of explain that real quick, basically if you have white gear in a slot and you open up a gold chest, you're guaranteed to at least get one of those item slots where it is an upgrade. So it will be a green, a blue, or a purple. There isn't a guarantee as to which slot it's going to go in, or if you have a mix of whites and greens, whether that upgrade is going to be a green or a blue. The chest just determines one is going to be an upgrade, and then everything else could be duplicates. This kind of stops once you get all blues. There is no guarantee that you're going to get an upgrade to a purple, an epic. However, there are pity timers on chests, which we can look at real quick. This little purple bar in your inventory will tell you that there is a guaranteed epic equipment in one of the next 6 chests. So every 10 chests in a gold chest, if you've opened 10 in a row, those first 9, if none of those had an epic piece of equipment, the 10th will guarantee you one. And that has to be an item, like a gear, a piece of gear that drops, something that's going to drop into this item slot. Any other kind of epic that drops, if it's an epic consumable, that's not going to take away from your pity timer. Feats are also in this, right? Feats, specifically, the Feats system that was added. If you come over here and you open your Champ UI and you click on Feats, there are feats that you can buy with gems. There are feats that you get that are default. They're these green ones. But then, well, on this account, I can't show them off. Let me hop over to my other account here, because I haven't got these on this account. Over here, you'll see there are feats that specifically are available in gold chests. So this I consider another item. These are things that are going to drop and be permanent gains to your champion. They're not consumable. I mean, this is something that you will keep forever. They will drop out of gold chests as well. Those drop. Those have a 1 in 25 drop rate, for those of you who are wondering. So roughly a 4% chance to show up in your account out of a gold chest. The thing with those, though, is there is no pity timer. So while there is a pity timer for epics, for items like your gear out of a gold chest, there isn't a pity timer for a feat. So you could open 50 chests and get no feats. Or you could open 5 and get 3. they're really, it's just full RNG for feats. Let's see. So using gear, basically, gear's automatically slotted into your champion slot. It automatically applies. If you get an upgrade, like you go from a white to a green or a green to a blue, the highest level rarity of that item is always going to be the one that shows. It's going to be the one that's affecting you, because each of these, there is a total that shows up based off your item level and the rarity, and if there's a guild, again, which we'll get into in a moment. But if you look here on the champion, like a white is good. This one for this specific item gives you a 20% bonus flat before any item levels are factored in. 130%, well, these are boosted, so this would normally be 10%, but anyway, 130%, 240, 460. So the highest multiplier is always going to apply. Once you've collected higher, these others don't affect this slot overall, but all the item levels that you get are still affecting it. So earning that extra gear while you're leveling up is totally fine. You're not wasting anything. So you're always going to modify by the highest rarity and the highest guild. So again, we'll talk about that in a moment. Just keep that in mind. So you're automatically going to get the use out of the gear. If you open up duplicate gear, that actually adds extra levels to those items. As we were showing, you have an item level that shows up at the top. So when you first pick up an item for your slot, if you get a white item, so the most common item, it's basically going to show up as like white item level 1, or if you get a duplicate, it'll show up as white item level 2, because that'll add another point to it. As you get duplicates of different rarities, and you get multiple of them, those item levels will start to stack up. You don't ever lose those item levels. That item level is assigned to that slot. So this slot 1, even if this was a piece of white gear at 83, as I get higher rarities, those item levels don't like reset to 0 or anything. It's just going to continuously add up in the background, and adding higher rarities affects that multiplier, so that base multiplier that the item level is working against. So consider it in math-wise as lots of things that are going together. So you have item levels as one multiplier, item rarity as another, and then item guild, which we'll talk about next, as another, right? All of this multiplies to give you the power that's showing up at the bottom that says increases the damage of all champions. So guild specifically gets into talking about something you've probably heard a lot of is Shinies and golden epics. These are two ways that you kind of guild out a slot. If you look down here, you'll see these little borders around some of these, inside of some of these items. This silver one is a shiny. This is what we refer to as Shinies. And this golden one, oh, it's not going to let me hover over that one because of the familiar. This golden one is a golden epic. They are denoted as golden epics because that's the only way a golden shows up currently in the game. Shinies they're kind of random. They can appear on any rarity of an item. They come through mostly through the loot system. A shiny drops out of any kind of chest that drops gear. And they drop at a rate of 1 out of every 1,000 chests. However, like with feats, there is no pity timer. So you could open 1,000 and get one. You could open 2,000 and get none. You could open 5,000 and get none. Like it's truly RNG. They're some of the most sought after bonuses in the game because of that. So when you're looking at those, that's the main primary way to get them. There is another way to get them, which we'll talk about when we get to consumables. But just random loot out of opening any kind of chests. RNG roll 1 in 1,000. No pity timers. Goldens, though, for the most part, are only available through the cash shop. So if you go up here, you'll notice that they call them a sweetener with these gold weekend chests. The sweetener for buying chests, along with getting potential shinies, which is another way to get shinies, but for cash. You'll get like a bonus, but the main thing that they kind of advertise is you're getting this golden epic. So this is a larger bonus on top of that slot. Usually only available in a cash shop. Occasionally there have been ways to get them outside of those through events, like an anniversary event, and now they have put, where is it? One of these right here. In each of the patron shops, all the way at the bottom, there is now a golden epic available for 3 of our evergreen champions. So Ikoria has one in Mert. Azaka has one for Vajra, and Strahd gives one for Dragonbait. So these are the first times we've seen in-game purchasable for currency golden epics. So hopefully that trend continues into the future. Now, what exactly do those do? So like we've talked about an item level and we've talked about an item rarity. The guild acts as a multiplier on that slot in the sense that this would be just normal, ungilded. Once you add a shiny, that adds a 50% multiplier to the power on that slot. So one way to think about that is it's almost like adding 50% more item levels. But ultimately what you want to do is look at the power at the bottom where it says it increases the effect. It's basically going to add a 50% to that. So this one is currently at 319. If it got a shiny, that would go up by 50%, which is roughly, 160 roughly percent. You're going to get in that neighborhood when you're talking about adding a shiny to that. Adding a golden adds 100% bonus, so you're effectively doubling it. So these are basically ways to increase the power. Instead of directly adding item levels to an item, they're just multiplying against the item levels that you already have there. So the higher your item level on something that you have a guild on, the more powerful it really becomes. Like, I've got over 1,000 item levels and it's a golden epic. That means this is really getting a huge bonus. There's a lot of payoff for that golden epic, for that being a gilded in this way. These are getting a 50% bonus, right? So the more item levels you get, the bigger payoff for a guild. Now, we kind of already addressed some of the frequently asked questions about items. Like, do I lose my item levels when I go up in rarities? No, we see that question all the time because people think that they're accumulating all of those item levels on, say, that white or that green item. But never fear, though that is the permanent progression in the gear system, are the item levels. So you don't have to worry about, I don't want to get a bunch of levels early on in this is bad luck. Every duplicate you get is adding towards your permanent bonus to that slot. And when it comes to shinies and goldens, we went over some of those. Again, those are kind of almost the sought after high level bonuses for those slots. They're not necessary, but they are nice. So it's just a way that effectively specifically with golden, it's just a way that you're speeding up progress. You're giving yourself a little more power, but it's not something that you necessarily have to have, because as long as you're getting duplicate gear as you're playing the game, you are increasing those item levels anyway. You can eventually get to that same power level. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. And then in terms of feats, a lot of people ask, do feats come from anything other than just regular gold chests? Like, if I really want a feat for, let's say, Briv, if I'm opening golden Briv chests from his event or his time gate, do I have a chance to get his feat out of those chests? No. No, the feat delivery system is specifically just regular golden chests. So opening up these, one moment. Opening up regular gold chests that you can buy in the shop or get as loot from killing bosses as you play, or get from codes like ours down today at the bottom there. Get your loot on. That's actually not a gold chest today, though. That's a supply chest. We'll talk about that in a second. But you can get a lot of, as everybody knows, you get tons of gold chest codes throughout the week from all the various partnered shows and CNE streams. So opening these up is what are the only place you can get feats, and that actually makes a lot of sense because you continuously get these while you're playing. If you were limited to specifically having to open up a champion's name chest to get feats, that would be pretty rough because you don't get a lot of those while you're playing unless you're running time gates specifically over and over and over again. So they're giving you a chance to deliver all of these fairly easily through regular gold chests. They will accumulate as you go. You cannot get gear or feats out of a regular chest for a champion that you don't own yet. So these will all drop for, specifically in terms of gear, all of your core and evergreen champions will get gear out of these silver and gold chests. This is why my item levels are so high on my core champion Bruenor, because for the last 3 years I've been opening silver and gold chests as I play, and he's been getting tons and tons and tons of duplicates. It's also why, if we look down here, one of my newer acquired evergreens is catching up. Dragonbait got him on January 1st. He's already up into the 600s, close to 700. Again, just from opening up lots of silver and gold chests. And if we look at the newest evergreen champion, Alcoria, she came out fairly recently, but I've already got her up into the hundreds. Now, to level up the items, or the item levels on your evergreen champ, or your non-evergreen, your event champions, and your now what I'm referring to as time gate champions with the year ones, these are going to go up slower because you don't get as many of those chests, and we combat that with our consumables. We will talk about that in a moment. So, general tips and tricks for trying to gear up your champions. Like I said, you're going to get that gear specifically just from opening up lots and lots of chests. You're also going to get your feats that way. Specifically as a new player, we recommend buying silver chests first on a brand new account and opening those for gear. Silver chests are you do get them just as while you play, but you can buy them here in the shop for gems. One chest is 50 gems. A gold chest is 500. Where are they? Oh, here we go. 500 gems. So you can get 10 silver chests for the same price as buying one gold. Now, a gold chest does have multiple items that it drops, whereas a silver is only going to guarantee one item drop, maybe two, and then give you some gold. But filling out, because you're buying 10 at once, for the same amount of gems, you're getting a much better bang for your buck on a brand new account, because you really just want to get at least some basic items in those slots. So even white items are going to give you a huge bonus in power, additively, multiplicatively, amongst everything going on. Even though the bonuses are small, it's a lot better than not having anything at all. And you can actually gear up to green super fast. I just started a new account recently for the Gaarawarr challenge, which you could find information about on Reddit. Basically, in the first week of chests, I was able to, just spending gems on silver chests only, I was able to deck out all of my core champions that I have, like those first 12 that you start with at least green items. So it's very quick. That gives you a good power spike early on and a very cost-effective one for the gems you're spending across all of your champions. And at that point, then you switch into buying gold chests. So once you have at least green, then switch into gold, because then you're going to automatically upgrade. Every time you open a gold chest, you'll automatically upgrade to a blue, like we talked about, at least a blue. And you'll start getting epics, which are, again, even better multipliers. You also start earning feats at that point. Now, in terms of feats, there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not it's worth it to buy feats for gems. Like we talked about, some feats come out of gold chests, but some you buy straight up with gems. And people are like, well, is it worth it to spend 12,500 gems? That's a lot of gems just to buy one feat. Well, it depends. 12,500 is the exact amount that 25 gold chests cost. So, if you are buying gold chests specifically to get feats with gems, you're doing the same cost, except as we talked about, there's no guarantee in 25 chests that you're going to get a feat. So you're gambling a little bit there with your gems. Whereas if you know specifically that a champion that you use regularly and has a feat that will help you in the formation, because it is a feat that specifically, this isn't a good example, but one that specifically, like here, Briv's damage all champions by 24%. If you're using Briv and you know you want to boost the damage of everybody in the thing, then for the same amount of gems, you can grab that power immediately, guaranteed. And then, again, still continue to open gold chests and going on, and then you may get other feats that you want. But keep that in mind. You don't necessarily just want to buy any of them. Ooh, some of these are expensive. This is an epic one version. You don't necessarily just want to buy any of them when you see them, just because you like them. Because not all of them are necessarily usable. And the ones that you want may be specifically out of gold chests, but in the interim, if you want some power while you're playing and you have the gems to spare, that is something that you can do to just guarantee that you're getting an upgrade instead of just gamble on one. But as always, I've given you the information. It is up to you to make the decision. Make sure you're making informed decisions about your purchases. Now, consumables. So the second half of this kind of coin that comes out of all of these chests that you're buying, for the most part. Consumables are, like we said, anything that comes out of a chest or that you buy in a patron shop, which we'll look at in a second, that you use for temporary or, in some cases, permanent boosts of power. These are all these potions, for example. These are all consumables. We do get some consumables from the patron shop. We already talked about how you can buy like a golden epic out of the patron shop. Patron shop also has feats. You can purchase feats out of here, but they also have consumables. You can buy basically an unlimited amount of potions of specialization, for instance. We're going to talk about later how that may not be the best thing to do with your currency, but you also have access to these huge potions. Each of the potion types that affect your stats are available, the huge version. Now, potions have 4 different rarities, so this is the only rarity you can purchase. But you can also buy chests out of the store, all kinds of things. Check that out. But we're going to focus specifically on consumables today. So, why do we even have consumables? Basically, there are a couple different types of consumables. As we saw, there are potions, there's blacksmith contracts, there's bounty contracts. There are a couple specialized potions, and we'll talk about those, but generally these are things that offer either short-term gains in strength or defense or gold find, etc. In terms of potions. Blacksmithing contracts give you focused item progression, which basically means they boost your item levels directly when you use them. So it's like going to a blacksmith and having your gear improved. Bounty contracts give you basically extra boosts of gold, and when used during an event, they also give you extra boosts of event tokens. So that's actually the biggest part of them for most people, is that boost in event tokens, because event tokens, as I hope we all know, come at a fixed rate of gain, basically over time, and there is no way to speed that up. You can't farm them. The only way you can get extra event tokens is through bounty contracts. And then there are a couple special potions that we'll talk about. We kind of reference one of them in a moment. But specifically, if we go over and look, in your inventory, the first one that's going to pop up in the list here are potions of giant strength. Again, they'll go small through huge. Those are the various different rarities. Obviously, lower rarities are going to drop from silver chests. Higher rarities are going to drop from gold chests, much like gear. With the option of buying these epics straight out of a patron shop if you need to. Each one is going to last for a different period of time, while also buffing for a different amount. So as we see here, this increases the damage of all champions by 100%, but it only lasts for 5 minutes. The greens, the uncommons, last for 15, but give a much bigger buff. That's 300%. The rares last for an hour, but again, a bigger buff at 500%. And then epics last until you complete your adventure. So you can start it at level 1, and even if you're grinding in that adventure for 24 hours, farming stacks for Targar or Zorbu or whatever you were doing, this potion will run the entire time, and at a much larger bonus of 900%. So again, this is the giant strength, so this one specifically lets you do more damage, lets your champions do more damage. Clairvoyance gives you more gold. Again, it follows the same type of rules. However, the bonus you'll see doesn't go to 900%. This goes 100, 200, 300, 400 because gold rules, and they don't want to make these so overpowered. If we hop over here to heroism, these are increase your health. So this helps you in cases where your champions are just taking a beating. Either your tank is having trouble surviving, or maybe you're in one of those adventures or variants where you're fighting a boss that does damage to everyone, and everyone needs some more survivability. This is how you get it. So this is a 50% bonus, 100%, 200%, 300%. Again, kind of toned down compared to giant strength, but that's because these are this is a pretty big deal. Raising your health up helps quite a lot. If we hop down here, fire breath. So these are ones that actually boost what your clicks do. Whether you're clicking with familiars like I am right now, or you're clicking manually. Small potions and all the size potions of fire breath are basically going to add an amount of damage based off your bud, which is your base ultimate damage, to each of those clicks. And this is generated based on time. So this is 60 seconds, 150 seconds, 300 seconds, and 600 seconds. So this basically takes a look at your bud, which is down here. It looks at that bottom number, which is 1.76 E129 DPS for me. And that is 1 second of bud. So then it takes that and multiplies it by whatever the number is that the fire breath potion is supposed to do. And that's how much damage it does with each click. Oh, hey, tune in and watch my show right now. And then the final potion, which I only have of 3 of the rarities because I used up all my greens. These are speed. So when people tune into the show and they go, oh my god, how is everything going so fast? A lot of the time, it's because I'm running speed potions. These multiply at different, multiply the speed at different amounts. I don't have a green to show you what the green amount is, but as you can see, the small is 1.25. Large is 2.25. I think this is 1.75 might be the green. And then epic is 2.75. Now, these potions are the only ones that have a cap to them. So what that means is all of the other potions you can actually use all at once. We can use what I refer to as a full stack. So if I want a full stack of clairvoyance, I'm popping at least one of all of these. And what happens then is these all then multiply against each other, because they're each their own multiplier, and create a huge bonus for gold for me. So it isn't just that you're taking, like, say, 100% and then adding 200%, getting 300% bonus. No, you're multiplying these together when it comes to these specific strength, these type of potions. So strength, gold, health, this is all a multiplier. This multiplier caps, and it tells you this, caps at 10x speed, which means, a quick tip for you, you only really need to use 3 of the 4 rarities. Generally speaking, people use a huge, a large, and a medium, and that caps you easily at 10x speed. If you have Shandy in your formation, which is right here with the little arrow, our little green outfit with the little purple arrow, or purple surrounded black arrow, you only need to use a huge and a large, and that will get you to 9.281x speed, which is close enough to 10, in my opinion. And anything over that is a bit wasted. You could like throw some of these on, or if you want to do it the other way around and you want to go small, medium, and large, you're going to get close to 10 as well. So there are different combinations that are going to get you either close to 10 or capped out at 10, but you don't need to use all 4. So keep that in mind. The other odd interaction with using multiple of these is with fire breath potions, and once my Modron resets everything, I will explain that. Thank you, Modron. You are not multiplying seconds by seconds. In this case, you're adding them. So 60 seconds would get added to 150 seconds for a total of 210 seconds. 510 seconds if you're adding another of those. 1,110 seconds if you're doing all four, if you're doing a full stack. So fire breath potions are additive. Others are multiplicative. Keep that in mind. That's going to help you out quite a bit. Specifically on blacksmith contracts, which are no, not those, these, the ones that I don't have a lot of because I used. Blacksmith contracts, you're going to get tiny, you get small, medium, and then I don't have a purple one. I think it's large. These are going to give you basically different amounts, as it says here. 1 level, 2 levels for this one, 6 levels to a random piece of loot, and then 24 levels for the epic version. But again, it goes to a random piece of loot owned by the selected champion. And on top of that, there is a limitation that you cannot use a blacksmithing contract on a champion that doesn't have at least 1 item in each slot. So if you get a new champion, you get 1 item on him and it is the greatest item and you would love to just boost that item through the roof, you can't do that. You have to get all of them, and then you have to use this, and then basically we'll show you how to do this. Basically pop this. It's going to take you to this screen where it shows you all the champions that qualify for you using a contract on them. So you find the one that you want. I'm just going to grab Turiel here. It's going to bring up this array. You still haven't used your contract yet. Keep this in mind. So we can close out and not consume a contract. This is a great way to check what your item levels are on all your characters. You can just close it out and not consume it at all. But let's go throw a tiny contract on somebody. So let's say Blanya now. Now when I go to use this, it's just going to pick one of these 6 items at random. It fires off that little thing and then it tells you RPG got +1 level. Hey, and that is permanent forever and ever and ever. This is specifically exactly what you want to do with your blacksmithing contracts. You want to pop one open, look through here, find an event champion specifically, and boost their item levels. So one that you're using, hopefully, go for something that's in your formation all the time and boost their item levels. You don't necessarily want to use this. You don't really want to use it at all on a core evergreen champion. Because like we said, as you can see, my average item levels for Bruenor, just because he exists as a core champion and gets those item levels automatically out of all those normal silver and gold chests I open, he's going to go through the roof over time. Whereas my event champions, the only way they're going to go up is if I'm opening more event chests from them, either from an event or from a time gate that specifically have their name on it, or if I'm opening patron chests, which is another way to get gear for champions, or the weekend chests like we just got out. We'll look at all of those here in a moment. But specifically blacksmithing contracts, you want to use them on event champions only and boost up their levels. That is how you do that. The other kind of contracts we have are bounty contracts. Again, we talked about how the big bonus from bounty contracts is that they give event tokens. So as you see here, you claim a bounty worth 30 minutes of offline gold earnings, but also awards event tokens if an event is running. So a lot of people don't like to use these outside of events because they want those extra tokens. And the way this is calculated is, again, it's based off the time. So a small bounty contract is 30 minutes. A medium bounty contract is 4 hours. There's a big jump there. And a large bounty contract is 8 hours. So the offline gold calculation is going to be kind of this mishmash of your gold find and your damage. It's basically what kind of gold would you be earning if you were killing things on that specific level that you're on. So this is something you usually want to use at the end of your runs to generate gold. Now, that does vary. Like I said, it's going to be based off a mix of the level you're on, what your gold find is, and the damage of your champions, so it can determine what your normal offline gold gain is. The event token drop is fixed, though, because event tokens, as we talked about, they generate at a fixed amount of time. You can't speed that up. I believe currently, originally it was once every 30 seconds, but now I believe they sped it up. It's once every 25 seconds. So you do the math, every 25 seconds and then into 30 minutes, and you can get you're going to get a fixed amount of tokens every time you open a small contract, a fixed amount for a medium and a fixed amount for a large. That's not going to change based off the level you're on. But like I said, usually these get held towards like the end of a run. I recommend the end of your first or second or third event run, usually, if you're a new player. If you're a more experienced player, the end of your first run. Because that's going to get you the most possible gold, which means you're going to get a lot of favor on that first run. That's going to help you out in future runs. But it's also going to then give you all of those tokens that you can use to then go do all the variants and grind those chests out. So that is bounty contracts. You can use them in regular runs, but again, if you're going to use them in a regular run, at least do it in a regular run while an event's running, because then you're not losing those event tokens. Event tokens are just super great, people. I can't go into them enough. Now, we do have that one, a couple of these specialty potions down here. There are not multiple kinds of these or multiple rarities. They are just unique and have their own rarity. The first is a potion of specialization, which Shinies says is uncommon, but I disagree. And potions of polish, which they label as epic, but this is kind of a misnomer because you can't loot potions of polish out of any chest in the game. However, you can loot potions of specialization. So what does a potion of specialization do? It's in the name. Basically, it lets you change the specialization that you've chosen for a champion while you're in the middle of a run. Normally, when you're during the upgrade process for your champions, you pick your specialization, and it's locked in for the rest of the run. One of these lets you change it. Basically, you just click on it. This little screen pops up, and it shows you what the spec is for each of these champions that you've unlocked in an adventure, whether they're in the formation or not. So if you have used a bunch of, like, there's a slider bar here for a reason. If you have used a bunch of different champions in an adventure and swapped in and out, it's going to show all of them and all of their specialization choices. You would just click on the one that you want to change. It's going to pop up that specialization box dialog like this. Are you sure you want to use it? Yes. It's just confirming because these are hard to come by despite it saying uncommon. And then you can change it to whatever you want. I don't actually want to change it, so we're just going to go back to that. I did burn one. I don't mind. I have a lot of all of these, as you can see, but specifically these. So these are good for those situations where you find yourself either having made a mistake in your specialization choice, and you didn't realize it until later on, or if you want to alter your strategy for your champions as you get deeper in. So for instance, with Shandy is a good person to look at that on. Usually use her speed up stuff early on, and if you're using her for damage at the end, you would actually want to switch her out of that specialization into a damage boost specialization at your wall. The other one is Potions of Polish. Potions of Polish are the other way you can get Shinies on champions. So this upgrades a random item owned by a random champion to Shiny. Now that means any item across all of your champions. You have no control over where it's going to end up. But the good thing is it can go to both core and evergreen as well as event champions. And why is that a good thing? Well, like we said earlier, Shinies usually, you're going to see more of them out of these normal silver and gold chests because you're going to be opening thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these in your time and idle champions, specifically silvers. And you're going to see that natural chance for that shiny to drop out of these more often than anything else. But these will only fall on those core and evergreen champions, which means your event champions are kind of left out in the cold in terms of getting shinies. whereas the Potions of Polish can land on an event champion. So this is a way to generate this. Now, again, these don't drop out of chests or anything. These specifically come out of the cash shop in a couple different ways. One, if you go, sometimes they're just going to be listed in these packs. They will list, like here we go, as something that's included in a pack. So this specifically includes a Potion of Polish. Sometimes, though, if you already have, this is something we didn't talk about, if you already have a shiny on an item in your inventory, so in this case, a shiny freshly salted knucklehead trout. If CNE were to offer the golden epic for this item, and you already had it shiny, and you purchased the golden epic, which then, you know, gives it that 100% bonus, because it was already shiny, CNE, in their graciousness, refunds you a Potion of Polish for this, because of this. So when you upgrade from shiny to golden via a purchase of some kind, you will get refunded a Potion of Polish, which is how I have all of these, just slowly accruing over time. In general, as a newer player, you don't want to hold on to those Potions of Polish. If you get one, use it, because the quicker it's out into your item slots, the quicker you get to use its power. Even if it goes on somebody that you don't necessarily use, it's better to use it right away. Ideally, though, and why I'm holding on to mine, I have gotten far enough into my progression that I am almost done getting guilds on all of my evergreen champions. I have all of my core gilded, and I'm only missing 3 items gilded on my evergreens. Once those are done, I am guaranteed all of those Potions of Polish to go on to event champions. So I am looking to kind of bank that power, and it's not holding me back at this point after 3 years in my progression. So I am making that informed decision, but that is not necessarily for everyone, in case you're wondering why they're all there. So again, consumables, you get them out of all silver and gold chests, except for the Potions of Polish. But all of these can come out of silver and gold chests. Silvers, again, drop lower rarities of things if they're included in stuff. Other stuff that drops, you're going to get these out of gold chests, and the higher rarities out of gold chests. But this includes those specifically named champion chests. If we hop over and take a look at my other account, I actually have some. Hey, I'm streaming. So I have like gold Farida chests and gold Point chests from this event. That's silver, that's a gold. These chests also drop consumables. So even if you don't have, say you entered in a bunch of those combinations you found on a wiki or in the Discord or on Reddit, and they gave you a named chest, like a named specific chest, like a Farida chest, for a champion that you don't own yet, you can open these up. The gear goes into your collection that I showed you earlier, and will appear on that champion when you unlock that champion, whereas you get those consumables in your inventory right away. The only case where that doesn't work is when you have a weekend chest, like this is the gold Ichor covered chest from this weekend's Fiend Fighting weekend. These work a little differently. So these include gear for all of those listed champions, but only if you own them. So if you don't have Turiel, or you don't have Korth, and you open this chest, the gear in this will only drop for the chests that you do own. However, you will still get all those, any consumables that they have right away. So for name chests, I just recommend once you get them to open them, because you get access to that consumables, those consumables, and thus that power right away. And the gear is going to be there when you get there. Another kind of chest we didn't talk about, which is what that code is for today, is a supply chest. When you open a supply chest, as it says, 6 cards between rare and epic with potions and contracts. So this is guaranteed nicer high-end stuff, consumables out of supply chests. They're pretty fantastic. If you just need to refill your consumables, this is a great way to go. So whenever we see those, I like to gobble those up right away because I like consumables. Apparently I like hoarding consumables, but that's a whole other issue, folks. All right, so as you said, all of the consumables that you get are going to be used from your inventory bag. They're not used in any other way. Anytime you click on a potion, it's just going to, like a regular potion, it's just going to pop that buff up right up here. Like if we just, let's throw down Giant Strength. So as you can see, it's going to show up. It stacks with this. This was a store purchase buff. It's going to stack in that same column and multiply against that. And if you use more, like if we throw in a medium, it just builds that stack up. So this is why I refer to them as stacks. Like it's a full stack, you're using all four. And each of the different types is going to stack up, and then all this stuff moves to the left. And if you use a lot of stuff and you have a lot of bonuses, it ends up sticking all the way out here. We won't demonstrate that today, though. Not on a gem run. There's no reason. So, frequently asked questions. I think we touched on some of these, but when should I use potions? We haven't touched on that one. Generally speaking, as you can see, I hoard a lot of mine. I tend to use potions to give me an extra bit of boost on variants, because variants have a fixed level that you need to get to complete it, and thus beat it and get your rewards and never have to do it again. If I'm having trouble on a variant, I'm going to use my consumables for that. That's what they're there for. I know I can just use, I'll start off with maybe like a medium, see what happens, judge the effectiveness, and go from there. However, I also use, like epics tend to be the ones that I use the most of, and I'm a little freer in using because they are available in the patron shop. Epics I will burn anytime I'm doing a deep run, like if I'm doing deep favor pushes in an event, or if a new campaign comes out, like coming soon in October, Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden will be arriving in Idle Champions. If I am just doing initial pushes to build up lots of favor, to buy blessings, epic potions are great, because again, they last the entire run. So if I know I'm going to be on that run longer than an hour, I'll throw an epic down because it's going to last that the whole time. And then depending on how far I want to push, I can do up to full stacks and gain all those bonuses. So there are going to be different situations depending on what you want to do. Basically, look at what's going on, look at what you need out of that run, or what you're doing, and see, is this a time for extra power? But I see this all the time with people doing variants. I just need like 10 more levels, or I can't beat this boss, I'm almost there. Well, what potions are you using? Well, I haven't used any yet. Use your potions to beat bosses and variants. Like if it's the last boss, do it. Just start with a small if it's the last boss. If you're 10 levels away, start with a medium. Adjust from there. What should I spend blacksmith contracts on is another frequently asked question, and we kind of talked about that. Only really ever want to spend them on your event or / time gate champions. If you've spent them on core and evergreen in the past, don't fret, it's fine. But going forward, make sure that you reserve those boosted item levels for those champions that it's going to be very hard to boost their item levels. When should I use bounty contracts? Events are a great time to use your bounty contracts. Get those bonuses. Some people do this in different ways. Some people hoard bounty contracts and wait for an event where they're going to have champions that they really know they want to gear out like to the fullest, and then they save them and they burn them. Then, for instance, we're in High Harvest Tide right now. Liar's Night is up next, and it features Avron and Dinar, and people love Avron. He's the #1 buffer in the game. So a lot of people have been hoarding blacksmith contracts, or bounty contracts specifically, to get tons of tokens for Liar's Night so that they can get all the gear for Avron. That's one way to do it. I personally burn all of my bounty contracts every event. That way I'm getting an even amount of gear on all of my champions instead of focusing on one, which is, I guess, shouldn't be a surprise when you saw my item levels. Like I said, when I use my blacksmith contracts, I create a floor for my item levels. All of my champions currently right now, like the lowest ones that have full epic, are at 80, for instance. So I don't have any lower than 80 except for Torgar, who's brand new. But I will bump him up next if I need to. I didn't look at his item levels, actually. Let's take a look and I'll demonstrate here. So I come in, oh, he's at 61. So yeah, he will be a target for a bunch of bounty or blacksmith contracts because he is now full epic. And I will get him up to the 80 that all of these other people are at least at, right? That way, my champions, when I'm going into variants that restrict me, I have at least a base level of power for all my champions and can complete my variants easier. Why don't special... This is a question I frequently ask. Why don't potions of specialization drop very often? They're uncommon, aren't they? Well, yeah, supposedly. CNE tells us that these are an uncommon drop, which is green, which means, you know, we should see huge stacks of dropping, right? I have 115, but that's because I just don't use them. So these have accumulated for a very long time, which is why it's up there. But they just don't seem to drop that often. So I don't know what to tell you there. They do feel pretty rare, despite being uncommon. And if we go back, I said I was going to talk about this under the patron shop. Seeing you can buy an endless amount of them for 5,000 currency, but CNE sells us huge potions, the epic potions that are hard to come by. These are epic. These are the hardest loot to get, right, out of gold chests for 2,000. So CNE even values them at 2.5 times an epic potion. Don't buy these, folks. I'm sorry. Codename Entertainment. Don't buy potions of specialization out of the patron shop. This needs to be like 500 at best. Yeah, they're not worth. You can buy a patron chest, which we should talk about as well, real quick. You can buy a patron chest for the same amount of currency. Patron chests drop gear for all champions that qualify for that patron. So this is another way you can gear out your event and time gate champions, is through the patron shop. This is how I geared mine out. You noticed earlier when I opened up the screen, I have full epics on all my champions. Well, I got there via patron chests. I didn't just wait for their event to come around. I did. I mean, I got gear that way as well. But time gates, I did some time gates for a while. But then then the patron shops came out, and I just geared them all up via patron chests. It can drop for core and evergreen too that qualify for that patron, but if you wait until all your core and evergreen are epics and then start buying these, then all those epics are only going to go to your event champion. So the patron shop is a great way. You know, you earn currency, you buy these patron chests, you gear up your event champions, right? But for 5,000, you can get gear for champions, or for 5,000, you can buy a potion of specialization. I know where I would be spending my money. Yeah. So, how do you get potions of polish? We talked about this. Do they drop from gold chests? No. No. You get them, again, through the cash shop. Occasionally there will be anniversary events and other types of celebratory events throughout the year, where if you log in every day, you will get rewards. And usually one of the rewards at the end of the event is, if you do all 7 days, is a potion of polish. So there are ways to get them for free in-game, but usually this is from a cash shop. Tips and tricks for general use for consumables. I already talked about how you can get a potion of polish by purchasing a GE for a slot that already has a shiny. So again, you know, if this is shiny and they offer a GE for it, suddenly that GE is more valuable, because not only am I going to get the golden epic for this slot, I'm also going to get a potion of polish back, right? So little thing to keep in mind when you're determining whether or not you want to purchase, like, say, a wild offer or a weekend offer. Keep in mind that 3-speed stack, you only need at most 3 speed potions usually to get up to 9 or fully 10x speed. You really don't need to use all 4. Just use 3 of your choice and go from there. I demonstrated how to check item levels via your blacksmithing contracts. A lot of people in the community will always keep like one tiny blacksmithing contract, so they can pull up at any time and see what their average item levels are for people. And that is a great rule of thumb. Just always keep one around, because there isn't any other way to see all of those in one place. So Using bounty contracts on your first run or two of an event is a tip that I usually give to people. Again, it's going to be a bigger bonus for newer players because more veteran players can easily go all the way through an event on their first run, and they don't need any assistance from the gold that you get from bounties. They'll just burn them to get the contract or to get the tokens. But newer players, when you get to your wall on your first run an event, that point where you're just not able to upgrade your champions quick enough to be able to push further and get them the power to push further. By opening a bounty contract at that point, you're going to get gold out of that bounty contract that lets you upgrade your champions, which lets you push further. It's also going to give you those event tokens, so that is a great tip for newer players on event runs. And one of the big things that you'll see, people tend to save up tons and tons and tons of gems and then buy tons and tons and tons of chests, specifically silver chests, for two reasons. One, they're trying to get shinies for their core and evergreens, right? We talked about that. So they'll buy thousands of silver chests and open them and to try to get shinies. But two, silver chests are actually the most cost-effective way to boost item levels on those core and evergreen champions. They give more average item levels per 500 gems spent than gold chests. So again, one gold chest, 500 gems. One silver chest, 50 gems. So you can buy 10 silver chests, and the math works out so that you end up getting a decent amount more item levels out of that 500 gem purchase from those silver chests than you would get out of gold chests. So it's kind of a double bonus there. So up until the point where you have early on, like I said, you're buying silver chests just to get up to green gear, and then you're going to gold chests. But then later on in the game, when you have full epics across all your core and evergreen champions, people then transition out of buying those expensive gold chests into buying mass amounts of those silver chests. So that is kind of a in-game trick once you get there. Keep that in mind. And that's about it. How do we do at time? Hey, we hit that hour mark. Pretty much dead on. So we're going to take a quick break while I drink some water. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do a Q&A. I will answer questions that were pulled from chat. Jay has pulled quite a few. Wow, almost 30 from chat so far. I will go over the ones. I'll pick out the ones that actually pertain to items and consumables first. And we'll talk about anything that I may have forgotten out of all of this. There's a lot to go over. There may be something that slipped through the cracks. We'll address all of those first, and then if we have time, we'll get into just general questions about the game. So I will be right back, everyone. All right, and we are back for the Q&A portion. As you notice, we do have the closed captioning back on. I apologize to anyone who wanted closed captioning during the first portion. Totally missed that. We are using a bit more of a direct contact with CNE, like I have Jay pulling it. He did post in our document here that I'm looking at, but I totally didn't see it, and that's my fault. We will get that all resolved, but we do have it on for the Q&A, so let's dive in. Is there a guide for gem spending? There is. You can post exclamation point GVA, which stands for Gems Visual Aid, in chat, and you will get a link to a guide that Mars and I collaborated on. I basically gave him some information, and he turned it into this beautiful visual guide. It has not been updated recently. It doesn't have the Modron system in it, I believe. And the Mage Hand Familiar cost was reduced. It used to be 1,000 gems, and now it's 250, so I definitely recommend like that being the first buy ever, even before chests, frankly, because of its just usability. So yeah, you can check that out, and that link should be in chat. Someone will probably have posted it by now. Let's see. What happens if I get a shiny on top of a golden epic? That's a good question. This is something that doesn't really happen for probably 99.99% of people. You cannot get a duplicate shiny, like a duplicate guild, until everything else is gilded. So, you will not get duplicate shinies out of silver and gold chests until all of your Corn Evergreen are fully gilded. At which point, any duplicate shiny that happens gives you a huge boost to item levels. I believe it's 125 item levels for that duplicate shiny. So pretty significant bump. And again, we talked about how if you get a golden epic on top of a shiny, you get a potion of polish back, and there are no duplicate golden epics, so that's not something you have to worry about. But a shiny on top of a golden epic, if you get to the point where you are fully gilded and have that happen, 125 item levels. Is it more efficient to raise item levels for a champion using contracts during their event or by doing their time gates? So basically this question is should I spend bounty contracts to get lots of event tokens and do free play runs to get chests named chests for a champion and then open those to get duplicate item levels? Or should I just do lots of time gates and spend time gate pieces? It's difficult to say. I want to say that in the long run, a time gate is going to do better for you in that regards. The one thing we're leaving out is patron chests here, and I think patron chests are really where you should be. I mean, that's kind of the best way. But it is more focused to do like a time gate. Blacksmith contracts are the best way to raise item levels in general. Again, that's how I raise them all. I raise them specifically through blacksmith contracts, but comparing your event to a time gate is a little rough, because an event you're going to run free. If you've already done the event, the only way you're going to have access to getting chests is by running free plays. So every run to 50, every time you complete 50, you can loot either a silver or a gold chest. It's at random, and you're guaranteed 1 gold every 4 runs at minimum. But the costs ramp up pretty quickly in terms of event tokens. So I guess it just depends on how many bounty contracts you're earning. Whereas with time gate pieces, you're guaranteed every time you do a time gate to get 3 gold chests, max. And then you get silver chests in a time gate for every unique 100 areas you complete. So when you're newer and you can only go to, say, 150, that means you're only going to get like 3 gold chests and 1 silver, which makes time gates not the greatest place to build item levels, but it is going to get you gear for those champions, which is what's important when you're newer. When you're more experienced and you can run to, say, 700 easily, You can get 7 gold chests, 7 or 800 or 900. You can get, lots of gold chests basically for each unique 100 levels you're going, plus those 3 guaranteed golds. So it just depends. It just kind of depends on where you're at. You can definitely get a guaranteed amount of gold and silver chests out of time gates, whereas you're getting a random amount of both out of an event based off the tokens. Yeah. In general, I don't do those specifically. I don't do either of those things to get item levels. I use blacksmith contracts for item levels for event champions. So it's rough to answer that question because to me, both of those are inefficient. I use specifically time gates to, at first, help me get full epics on a champion, and then second to help me fill out their collection if I have any holes via those silver chests. But when I open a time gate now, I just look at whatever champion, because I have all champions and they're all fully geared. I just look at whoever has the lowest item levels, and I do the time gate for that champion. And events at this point, because I have all champions and they're all geared out, I just do the newest champion. But on my new account, I split everything up equally. So yeah, I think the answer there is use blacksmith contracts for item levels, because it varies between events and time gates. So I can get event champ feats from regular gold chests. Yes, Merrick the God. Regular gold chests are where you get feats. That's when it says it's coming out of a gold chest when you open it up, and you look in the list for each champion. That is just regular gold chests. You don't have to worry about getting them from anywhere else. Are there any chests you should save rather than open? Keys of Thunder. Some people save, like when I showed you the Fiend Fighting Weekend chest, this Ichor covered chest. Some people will save these if they don't own the majority of these champions, because they want that chance for gear on all of them. And they don't care, and they probably don't care about the core champions they have, getting them that gear right away, because they can get that out of regular silver and gold chests. So some people will save these. Make your own informed decision about that. Just know that is something you can do, because again, that gear won't drop for these others. Like this, Turiel, Evelyn, and Korth are all event champions, so if you don't have them yet, that gear wouldn't even have a chance to drop out of this kind of chest. Some people will save those. As someone who doesn't need silver chests for gear, I save all of my silver chests up. As you can see, they're building up slowly right now. I save all my silver and gold chests up for events. Again, I burn all of my silvers just like I burn bounty contracts. I use them on the first run because they do drop gold as well. So at the end of a first run, silver chests can help you out if you're not using them for gear anymore. And then I hold on to my golds until after I've burned all my bounty contracts. Then I open up all of these, and then it gets me a new set of bounty contracts for the next event. That's just me being particular about how I want to earn and spend things. But they're outside of that kind of group chest dynamic where you might want to hold on to it to get gear for those event champions that you don't have yet. I don't know that there's a specific reason to open, like to save them instead of opening. Most of the time, it's just people being, hoarders. And wanting to open them at certain times, but it's gameplay wise, you get that power right away if you open it right away. Let's see. Some general questions we'll come back to in a moment. Wait, can you get gem feats in chests? No, you cannot. Anything that says 12,500, or as we saw 50,000, or even 80,000 gems to purchase when you're looking in the champ UI. Hold on. I can't remember which person had one. Oh, yeah, here we go. This 12,500, 50,000. These don't come in gold chests. It would have a gold chest icon here if it dropped out of gold chest. So they have given you different ways to get them. These you can buy directly. And hold on one moment while I sneeze. Thank you. These you just buy directly, so you don't have to do the whole chest thing. So they've just given you alternate paths to get some of the chests, or some of the gem feats. Some of the feats, excuse me. So gem feats specifically are just from gems. As far as gem feat usefulness, again, it varies. Sometimes gem feats are the ones that you want. Sometimes they're not. Look at what they do. Look at what all the feats are that are available for that champion. And again, feel like a broken record. Make an informed decision, right? Let us see. Lots of general questions today, so we will get to these in a moment. If a shiny would have dropped from a chest and you already had all of your evergreens fully gilded, would a potion of polish drop instead? No. So again, if you have fully gilded, like I said, I'm 3 away. I think they're down here that I don't have. Yeah, so I'm missing 2 on Dragonbait and like 1 on Alcoria. Once I get those 3, if I get a shiny again out of a chest, it will just duplicate somewhere, and I will get 125 item levels wherever it duplicates. And again, once your evergreens are gilded, will you stop getting shiny drops from chests? No. Again, and no, that doesn't kick out a potion of polish. That only specific potion of polish kick out is from putting a golden on top of a shiny. So you get shinies for event champions out of their chests then? Yes. But again, because there's no pity timer, and you would need to open, even if there was a pity timer, it's 1 in 1,000. You don't get that many event chests, folks. So shinies on event champions are harder to get. I do have them, but these tend to come from those bonuses from the store, right? So if you spend money in the store, if you spend at least $10, you get a shiny. And you get 1 shiny for every $10 that you spend. So like this would put 5 shinies and a golden epic out into the world. But if you specifically are buying for 1 champion, like if I just want to buy Torragar chests, this guarantees that I'm getting 2 shinies for Torragar, because these are Torragar chests. Otherwise, just randomly, I have gotten once in 3 years, I have gotten a shiny out of a champion event chest. Once. So it's not something you're going to rely on. That's really, you're hoping for. With those, you're just pumping up their item levels through blacksmithing contracts and using that power, unless you're spending cash on the game. What happens when you filled both the pages of the inventory slots? Well, you say both, but if you start off and you don't have much here, it's page 1 of 1, page 2 of 2. If there isn't currently anything, chests. If I had a lot of chests, which I do have like on my Gearless account, it just makes another page, and then you go 3 of 3 and 4 of 4, and yeah, it just keeps going. Besides some speed gear, like Sentry and Xander, for example, and alt attack cooldown, is there any gear that has a cap? No, those are the caps. So they did talk about how this is kind of the permanent forever progression is through item levels. Some things cap. So this is for an epic. The cap is like 502, 503 in terms of item level. For a shiny, it's like 251, 252. Who do we have one? Oh, his went 3. So if I look at this one and I see ultimate attack cooldown over 252, it means I got that shiny after I passed the 252, and the rest of those item levels are just wasted currently. So item levels for ultimate attack cooldowns cap. Item levels for someone like, here, we'll throw this up here for a second. For someone like Sentry, this specific item caps because her redshift ability caps out at 100%. This says 600% Gaarawarr. How is that 100%? Well, 600% is the modifier that takes resolution to 100% or higher. It just went a little higher because I got the golden after I had gotten it up quite a ways. But this resolution, Sentry's Echo resolution, caps at 100% chance to reduce requirements. So that caps. There are a couple
non-slot 6 that caps, but they are the exception to the rule. There are also a couple slot 6s that don't cap because, say, for the instance of Spurt, his can go on forever and ever and ever because it doesn't decrease his cooldown, it increases it, because that's how Spurt works. Havilar's the same. Hers is her attack, ultimate attack damage. It's not a cooldown, so hers doesn't cap. Things like that. So caps are usually on slot 6, but not always, and occasionally on other slots, but only where that specific ability caps out at a certain number. How did you view all your champion levels? I missed it. Open up your inventory, click on a tiny blacksmithing contract. We're not consuming it yet, we're just looking at our item levels. And then we can just close it out. I mean, we can go so far as to pick a champion. As long as I don't click that level up button, it doesn't consume it, though. I can back all the way back out. Question, what is the best way to spend your patron currency? Ooh, that's going to be subjective. So for me, I'm getting my influence up to buy Bud, Speed, and Time Gate piece. I don't know what Bud is. Any leftover currency goes to chests. Is this the right line of thinking? Maybe? So, it kind of, as always, it depends. It's subjective. Most people consider your Time Gate piece a guaranteed buy every week. Even though I've got all mine geared and I own all the champions, I still buy mine every week. I'm also buying my Modron component chest every week. So that's a lot of currency I'm spending every week just for those things. Modron. Come on. Oh, that's the wrong button. He has great timing today, folks. I guess I could have turned him off, but gems are too important. Things down here, like in these one-off purchases, are kind of based off choice. If you haven't bought these yet, then I wouldn't just spend all your currency every week. If you'll notice, I have a lot of currency for each of these. It's because I don't feel the need to spend it all every week, right? But again, I have fully epic champions, so there's a reason I don't buy a patron chest every week. But generally speaking, I would, look at these kind of what are considered generally by the community to be priority purchases. Time Gate pieces, because they're so limited. Modron component chests, because they're so limited. Great. If you absolutely need like a potion and you don't have it for any of these epics, buy as necessary. Pick up any feats that are a big deal. Potions of polish, if you're going to use it right away, buy it right away. Otherwise, you can leave it there for the future. That golden epics at the bottom are great. But general weekly purchases, if you've got all of those, I feel like my recommendation for patron chests is to not open lots of them, like maybe occasionally for completing a challenge or whatever. Not open lots of them until you have full core and evergreen epics. Because it is so much cheaper to get your gear for your core and evergreen champions out of silver and gold chests, or gold chests specifically. Because you can earn a bajillion gems, right? Like you can just earn gems over and over, especially now with Modron automation. You can just earn so many gems, and you can buy so many gold chests. Get all those core and evergreens epicked out first, then buy these what I consider to be fairly pricey chests for gear, and while it will drop duplicates for those core and evergreens, you'll also get items for your event champions, and then all those epics, any epic that drops, whether on a pity time or otherwise, is going to go to an event champion, which is a far more valuable place for it to go than your core and evergreen champions. So that's my recommendation there. Like, make sure you're spending these coins, this patron coinage, their currency is so hard to come by and so limited to earn each week that you don't just want to throw it away. Like, save it up and use it effectively is my recommendation. Let's see. Is 10x the speed cap or only the cap with potions? It is the speed cap in the game. So that's why I say if you have Stokie in here, she acts like a speed potion. She functions like a speed potion. So I only need to use 2 potions with her to get almost to 10x speed. I don't feel the need to burn to get up to 10x when I'm using her. Otherwise, you only need those 3 potions. Yeah. But then you can add all these other types of speed characters, and they have different speed effects that make things progress super fast that have nothing to do with potions. But the functionality from speed potions and abilities like a speed potion, as with Shandy, caps at 10x. How do you get event champ eye levels up to 60 so quickly? Torgar, for example. Is that partly real money purchase? Sort of. I did purchase on stream yesterday when I was doing Torgar. I did buy the 7 chest pack for him, which is 7 chests. It's in the name. I did buy that, but I had 26 gold chests for him already. Plus, I had probably opened about that amount of silver chests already. And that is specifically from bounty contracts. I save up my bounty contracts, and I burn them all in an event. So right now I'm sitting at, wow, like 540 almost, right? In that neighborhood. So I have over 500 bounty contracts ready to go for the next event. When I pop that, I end up at like the 70, 80,000 token range up here. And I just do lots of free plays. And because I already own all the other champions, I'm focusing all of my tokens on the newest, because I can. The benefit of having played the game for 3 years. So that champion, that newest champion, ends up with a decent amount of item levels right off the bat, right? So, and then I just have to raise him up to whatever my current floor is. Can you get blacksmith contrast from silver chests? Yeah. Yeah. Because blacksmiths come in these, smaller increments. They will come out of silver chests too. Is there a document out there in the internet somewhere that gives drop rates for different items out of silver and gold chests? Probably. I knowing our community, that exists. I don't know what it is or where it is. It might be on a wiki, or it might be on a spreadsheet, like Ridge makes some pretty detailed spreadsheets. Ask in the Discord in the tavern. Someone will probably be able to get that for you right away. It may even be in resources somewhere, but just ask in the tavern and someone will probably know. I know that a couple years ago, Silisa did kind of the investigation into silver and gold chests in terms of which one gives you more average item levels. I'm sure people have done updated versions of that since then, but yeah, I mean, that stuff exists. It's out there. Does anyone know how to see the shinies you get if you open a set of chests all at once that contain 5 shinies? When you open bulk chests, there is a see all loot that comes up at the end that lists everything off. And when you scroll down, you have to look at each individual item. It doesn't put them up at the top kind of in important loot, which arguably would be nice, but it has them down in that other category if they were like a green or a white or something. And you look down and it will be noted like there is a different color indicator there. What's the best way to get blacksmith contracts? Open lots of chests. All the chests. It's just opening chests and more chests and more chests on top of that. Like I said, I save up and I open in bulk, which is why I'm running low. I get, with my current Modron farming, I get about 500 silver chests a week. And then, so every event I'm opening, like this last event, when I opened these a couple weeks ago when the event started, I opened 1,500 at once. And then I tend to end up in the 200 to 250 range on gold chests, primarily because I end up buying a couple hundred, but yeah, each event. So opening up all of that stuff refills all of my consumables and contracts that I burnt down in the 3 weeks since then. So I'm kind of, on the low end at the moment. You opened 51 Torgar gold chests. No, I opened like 33 or something like that. How were they acquired? Again, it's lots of free play. Like there are 3 from the variants that you have for each champion in an event. Right? That's part of, you do your variants. Each of the variants gets you a gold chest. So I got 3 from that. The rest were all just random out of the free plays to 50. Or to complete 50, right? I run to 51 and then reset. And that ends up, I think total, it was probably over 50 chests combined between silver and gold, but I opened the silvers all like a week ago. So, let's see, anything, is there a guide for feats? Not really. Not really. A couple people have done kind of what they consider like a tier list for feats. So they're out there on the Reddit. Again, you can ask in the Discord probably for a direct link. It may be in resources. Hard to say. But there isn't just that I know of. Well, I mean, there might be. I don't know. It's very subjective because different people are going to rate different champions as worth more than others. And I don't know if they're necessarily accounting for like the guaranteed aspect of buying some gem feats for champions, even if they're not necessarily the best option for them. Because man, RNG can really just get you and keep you from getting that feat that you really want for a very long time. Anyone in chat that's waiting for Zorbu's int feat or Krull's 100% for Virulent Strain will tell you that, they've probably been hunting for months and haven't got it yet. So sometimes that guaranteed bonus gets undervalued off of gems, and other times not. Just keep in mind that the bonuses that you're getting from feats are smaller than the bonuses that you're getting from, say, boosting, going from like a blue to an epic. Literally, getting one of those feats that's a 40% bonus. A lot of it, depending on the item slot. Some item slots are like a 55% bonus in between rarities. So, focusing your spending and focusing on feats early on isn't as important as just getting those champs up and getting them good gear. And you'll get feats along the way out of those gold chests. Then you can start focusing on like the nitpicky aspects of maximizing each champion's effectiveness via feats. Do shinies drop from patron chests? Yes, any chest that drops gear for a champion has the potential to drop shinies. Again, 1 in 1,000 drop rate, not guaranteed. So, yeah. Who knows? What was the event champion shiny you got? I don't remember. It was like over a year ago, I think. I don't remember what it was. I was just shocked because I'd never seen it before. If an equipment slot is capped, will you get wasted drops for that slot? Ooh, good question, Becker. No. Once, that's kind of what it means to cap out an item slot, right? So once this reaches its cap, that specific piece of gear will no longer drop from chests. Because, as we know, those duplicate items are what raise your item level, and the item level can't go up. So the chests just know that, hey, it pulls this out of the pool and it doesn't drop anymore, which is why you see this one is like 372, but these are over 1,000, right? It's dumping all those item levels into those other 5 slots. Is there any strategy in opening chests, like waiting until you have 10 or something like that? Nothing that actually affects what comes out of the chests. Opening them immediately versus saving them up and opening them bulk doesn't change the contents of the chest or your luck out of that chest. It's just people tend to choose to open in bulk instead of opening one by one. It's just easier. How are we doing on time? Ooh, we still got a good amount. We're getting towards the end of the list. I will then double back and start answering questions that don't have to do with our topics today. This may have already been asked, but do feats show up for event champions and basic gold chests? Yes. All champion feats come out that say they're from a gold chest come out of general gold chests. So these very bare looking compared to some of the art on the other chests. These very bare looking generic gold chests. That is where all your feats come from, no matter what kind of champion they are. Why is the Zorbu Int feat worth getting? The Zorbu Int feat qualifies Zorbu to be used for the Patron Strahd. Zorbu is currently what's considered the top meta DPS. You can play the game using other DPS just fine for the most part. But if you really want all the bang for your buck currently, Zorbu is at the top. There is some talk right now about Ashara potentially being comparative. I can't speak to that yet for reasons. It just strikes me as odd, but hey, who knows? But getting your champion, a lot of people have geared up Zorbu and use him for everything, so not being able to use him in Strahd hurts some people, and so if you can get that feat out of a gold chest drop, people get super happy. Why is the epic gear for core and evergreen so important? Most of them are getting replaced by event champions. Good question. While a lot of them do get replaced by event champions, there are a lot of runs where you are still using core champions because they can gear up so easily and get to epic so easily comparatively. They can outperform event champions early on, unless you just go super crazy and get lots of gear on someone in an event. You tend to be able to overpower your event champions with core champions at a certain point, especially since those core champions continue to gain item levels like you see forever and ever and ever. The big push for me is to epic out all of those core and evergreens, because then you can open up all those patron chests and dump all that gear onto your event, specifically onto just your event champions, like in terms of epics. So it serves a dual purpose. One, you're getting more power for those core champions. There will be certain variants where they only let you use core champions, and variants are a big deal in general in this game, so having them epiced out if you can is great. But specifically, by epicking them out, you're allowing yourself an easy path through patron chests to gear up and get epics on your event champions that doesn't require time gates and that doesn't require you waiting for their event. And that's a big deal, right? That's how, after it took me 3 years to get a fully complete collection and to fully epic out all of my champions. And I did it primarily because I stopped worrying about time gates in the events to get those epics, and I got it through patron chests. Is it worth it to save up 12.5k gems for Jarlaxle's 25% gold find feat? Oh, if his 25% gold find feat is a gem feat, yeah, buy that. Yeah. I can't tell anymore. Like, if I go here, it doesn't tell me where I got these feats from, which is a little annoying. So sometimes I forget where they come from. Yeah. If Jarlaxle's gold find feat is 25 is a gem feat, buy it. That being said, like for a relatively new player, I think it becomes more effective. I think I would say 100% buy that for a new player if you are not so new as to not have a Zaka yet. If you've got a Zaka, you want that 25% gold find feat. If you don't, depends. But yeah, in general, if you see a super powerful feat like that, like gold find's a big deal, especially for Jarlaxle, but he tends to be used specifically in a Zaka farming, and that 25% is going to be a big deal there. Is bulk chest open equivalent to manual with regards to guaranteed purple if it procs before guarantee? Yes, it's doing all of that. It's doing all those calculations in the background as it's opening to get you to like watch the pity timer, and so it's opening them sequentially in the background, but then it just shows them all to you at once, right? Logged in way late. Sorry, Gar. No worries. When do you personally drop a 1 hour potion when you're pushing? beginning to get to wall and into the push, or only after you've hit the wall? So, yeah. I mean, like which wall, I guess? So I think there are multiple walls while you push. So like I think there's a speed wall. So I run a speed formation first, and I go from level 1 up to whatever my speed wall is, which basically means the point where I start having to pull out speed champions and substitute in actual damage champions to be able to push further. So that's one wall to me. Then there's another wall that I kind of hit where I've swapped those champions out in terms of, and I have full power champions, full pushing champions in now, but now I'm no longer killing with click damage. So that's like my second wall. At that point, I tend to go, oh, what, I'm not insta-killing with click damage anymore? Hour-long potions for like giant strength and fire breath. And then suddenly I start click killing further. But for the rest of the stuff like health and gold find, usually I'm soft capped at that point, so gold find doesn't happen. But health at that point is going to come in handy. Speed I tend to hold on to. Speed and gold find in general I tend to hold on to until I start my actual Azaka farm in terms of 1 hour potions. And I'll start putting full stacks in for like giant strength and health and fire breath as I start reaching, like I'll add fire breath as I start reaching like the fire breath click wall. As it stops slowing down again, I'll add like some more and try to get that to continue for a while, and then it just fades away and then I stop using those. But health, as you stop insta killing and things start building up, is when I start using like an hour-long health potion. So yeah, it's there. I feel like there's multiple kind of walls that happen, and I use them at different times depending on what they do. And that is the last of our specific questions about items and consumables, folks. We've got about 18 minutes left. I'm going to go back through this list that we've already pulled and try to answer questions that people have been asking from the beginning that aren't related to that. So not item related, but does anyone else think Regis is kind of weird? Like abilities are good, but hey, I have a shiny rock is a weird mechanic. Hey, I have a shiny rock. Are we talking about Pasha Pook's Ruby Amulet? I think that's what we're talking about. Ruby Blindness. So this is a lore. This is not a deep lore cut, but this is a lore cut, right? Pasha Pook's Ruby Amulet actually is a magical item that allows you to kind of charm and persuade people to get the things you want. That's what's going on with his like Ruby Blindness and Ruby Encouragement. He is magically affecting their minds. So yeah, I mean, if it feels like a weird mechanic, I mean that's how they translate the lore basis of Regis into the game. How's it playing so fast and auto leveling? We kind of talked about some of this. I don't have any speed potions going, but I do have Shandy, who acts like a speed potion. Melf is a speed champion. Sentry's a speed champion. Deacon's a speed champion. Havilar, in this instance, is a speed champion. So all of these champions have ability effects that allow the game to progress a little more quickly, like allow you to complete levels more quickly. Sentry reduces the kill requirements or the quest requirements up here. It's maxed out. So instead of 25, it says 17. Deacon speeds up how quick things move from the spawn point to the point where they can die instantly. Melf can do that too. Melf can also double your progress for quest drops. Melf can also increase the number of enemies spawning. So there's a lot of things going on here that are speeding up my progress. This is, when people refer to gem farming or mad wizard farming, that's what this is. So lots of speed champions, stacked alongside some multi-attack champions to very quickly and efficiently work through Mad Wizard and gain as many gems as possible. I am farming up now. I'm up to 438,855. So I've gone up like 20,000 since yesterday's stream or something like that. Not bad. What character has a Mind Flayer skin? That's Mind Flayer Hitch. He's right here. Or Mitch, as Mars dubbed him. So this is just Hitch, but a Mind Flayer version. So He's gone through Ceramorphosis, I believe is what it's called. Yep. Can gem feats drop from gold chest 2? I answered that one already. No. You can only buy gem feats with gems. How old am I? I'm going to be older in about a week. I'm in my 40s, though. The beard makes it otherwise. In Dwarven years, I'm probably like 200 and something. Question, will there ever be an all-in-one beginner's guide video? Ooh, going over all facts? Ooh. In a concise video to refer new players to? Oh, you're hurting me. Like, multiple blows. It took me an hour to go over items and consumables, and I thought I was as concise as I could be. So, no? No. Like each of these weeks, like each weekend, we're on Saturdays, we're doing a different topic. This game has a lot in it. It is a very deep game, and each of those topics has a lot to go over. So I spent an hour talking about each of those. So the first one was actually on a Wednesday for the anniversary event. And that was multi-party and Modron automation. We spent an hour on that, and then we did divine favor and blessings, and we did formation strategy and today's items and consumables. Next week is another what I refer to as these are beginner's guides to me. This is giving you the basics of these things. Yeah, I don't know that there's any way to do a short version or concise. This is it, folks. When will Xbox and console users get a collection tab in the menus, if ever? I don't know. That's a question for Codename Entertainment. I am not a direct employee of Codename Entertainment. They have me do these streams and answer questions for all of you. But they do their own dev stream on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. You can pester Dylan about that. And they also have a Q&A on the Reddit on Tuesdays. Usually mornings-ish, early afternoon. You can hit that up too, depending on how you want to ask that question. Is there a list of evergreens anywhere? Yep. Unlockables. I know about Dritz, Dragon Bait, Azaka, but who else is the unlocked ones? So Hitch is the first evergreen you'll be introduced to. You get him by going up here to the main menu, clicking newsletter and signing up for the newsletter. They will then give you Hitch. If you're on like PC, they send you a code that you have to put in. It's in your email. If you're on consoles and mobile, it may just be an automatic thing once you link. Once you've done that through the game. I'm not exactly sure. I don't play on those, so it's hard for me to say. But I believe I don't think they send you a code there. Make sure you're signing up for the newsletter through the game. I know some people have run into some issues signing up for the newsletter via the website, so just do it through the game. But that's Hitch. Campaigns. Each campaign is where you get your evergreen champion. So, Sword Coast campaign, Grand Tour of the Sword Coast down here under Deep Cartography. Overdue Rendezvous is the adventure where you unlock Dritz. We just did that live on stream on my Gaarawarr account this week. It took 2 weeks to do, so you can get your first evergreen pretty quickly. That is currently the only evergreen in the Sword Coast campaign. Tomb of Annihilation has 2. If we come over here, under Tomb of the Nine Gods, there's Azaka's Procession Part 1 under Grand Puzzle, but Azaka's Procession Part 2 under Tomb of the Nine Gods is where you get Azaka. Pretty far through Tomb of Annihilation. And then all the way at the end, kind of what we call a capstone, Asoriel's Resolve is where you get Dragon Bait. This is currently the most challenging evergreen to unlock. This is quite the accomplishment to do this. Even now with some soft cap upgrades, it can be challenging for people. So there's 2 out of Tomb of Annihilation. Waterdeep Dragon Heist just introduced Alcoria's Stone Marrow. Again, all the way at the end of the story, the Gargoyle adventure is what you'll need to do to get Alcoria. We do not yet have one for Baldur's Gate. However, it has been confirmed we will get one for Baldur's Gate. So there will eventually be one for all of the campaigns. I'm still curious when we're going to get a second one in the Sword Coast. Who knows? But yeah, so those are there are currently 5 evergreen champions that are unlockable outside of events. That's them. One thing that has me confused is, what does it mean to get X seconds of Bud? Does it mean Bud multiplied by X seconds? Yes. So Bud is base ultimate damage. That is that 1.46 E124 damage per second. So you're going to multiply that number by the number of seconds from the Fire Breath potions to get the total amount of damage that's being done. And that's one way you could try to math out how far that's going to push you, or if it's going to work on a level before you use them if you want. I have so many, I just pop one and see. Why does Fiend Fighting Weekend not include Havilar? I don't know. That's a great question. How did you view all your champion levels? Oh, we went over that. Blacksmith contract. Pop it. Takes you to the screen. Shows you all of them. It's just the average item level, and you can hover over each to see them all. What is debuff double dipping? I hear that all the time, but have no idea what it means. Well, it's not as much of a thing anymore, but it used to be that when you apply debuffs via certain champions to enemies, you could then fire off ultimates, and the ultimates would double dip. In other words, your attack would hit a debuffed champion and set your Bud, which is the first dip, and then you would fire off a Bud-based ability to hit a debuffed champion and do even more damage, and that was the double dip. For the most part, this is all gone. There are a couple lingering champions that the community believes are still double dipping, and they're probably right. Avron being one of them. Omen seems to go back and forth and have something that might be doing that as well. Stokey used to double dip because she had an ability that was based off Bud. It wasn't an ultimate, but just one of her key explosion was based off Bud. That was double dipping for a while. That supposedly got fixed. So that's something they're moving away from because it real bad for balance. Yeah. Can I spend Torn Blessings on buffs? Can I spend the other blessings on other buffs for their respective non-event area? I definitely recommend going back and watching Gaarawarr's Guide to Divine Favor and Blessings. I go over all of this, but when you're spending Torn Favor on these, you're basically buying increments of each of these blessings. These ones on the left, for PC people, these first 3, these are only going to apply to Torm stuff, and the one on the right will apply everywhere. You cannot spend Torm's Favor in any other campaign. You can only spend Torm's Favor in the Sword Coast campaign. I hope that answered the question. That one was a little confusing for me. When you buy a time gate as a 3-year veteran, do you just do the adventures, the variant, and then deep run on the free play, then close the time gate and maybe do patron challenges? So when I manually open a time gate, I do the first adventure, which gets me a gold chest, and I push. Basically what I do, I use an hour potion across the board, and I push as far as I can go in an hour, and then I reset, and then I do the second one, and I do that again, an hour potion. I go as far as I can. This is getting me a lot of favor. In an hour, for the record though, in an hour I go to like level 500. And then the second one I can go to like 600 or 700 because of the gold. And then I do the variant, but I complete it the second I finish it, and then I don't do a free play. And then I bail. So I do 3 runs as a 3-year vet, and then I leave a time gate. So I'm done in like 3 hours, something like that. For a time gate, because that tends to have gotten me. I tend to push on the second run to like 700, because I know I know where my max level is. I'm currently at like 951, but that takes crazy work. So I know I can easily get to 700, grab 7 chests, and bail, even with a difficult like armored boss. So Gaarawarr patron ETA. Oh, Mordring. You're cutting into my heartstrings. I actually made, in the Fan Design Forge on Discord, I made a fan design version of Patron Gaarawarr. He's specifically an event champion patron, and he works a little differently. I just decided what's the one thing that we would probably never see, and that's a patron that only buffs event champions and only is effective and lets you do things during an event. It would be such a crazy limited thing, but it made sense because the first guides I've ever made, and the ones that I'm consistently known for, are my event guides. So I just had some fun with it. There is one in there. I don't think it's ever going to happen. You mentioned core and evergreens. Is there a singular reference that describes which champions are in which groups? I mean, so the core champions are the champions you start the game with. So Brunor through Archon slot 1 through 12. Those are your 12 core champions. They are free in terms of you don't have to unlock them anywhere. Whereas evergreens are the ones that you have to unlock outside of time gates. So Hitch, Dritz, Azaka, Dragonbait, Alcoria, and whoever else they add over time. Everything else is what every other champion was introduced through an event. Right now, the year 1 event champions are all only available through time gates. So I'm personally just referring to them as time gate champions now. And then year 2, year 3, and year 4 champions are all available through events. Yeah. Twitch raffles. I just started playing about a month ago and I've been watching a lot of CNE Twitch streams when I can. I haven't noticed any raffles. I don't do raffles in my stream. The only CNE stream that I know does raffles is the Dev Q&A on Thursdays. So Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific. Tune in to that stream, and they do raffles where they raffle off bulk chests. Like they start at like 7, and I think they stop at like 42. And it's any kind of chest that you want. So like if you want a specific weekend chest, like you really like the Fiend Fighting weekend chests and you want 16 of those and you win the raffle for that, they will send you 16 Fiend Fighting weekend chests. Or you can get it for a specific champion or whatever. Like those raffles are pretty cool. Normally it's 3 sets. Hold on, I'm getting an update from Jay. 3 sets of 7 and 1 16. Okay. I have seen a huge bulk. Maybe that was a special anniversary thing. I don't know. So, okay. So Thursdays, 3 sets of 7 and 1 set of 16. There you go. I'm overselling it, but I swear I saw one that was a huge one once, and maybe it was an anniversary stream. Why do you usually do deep runs in events rather than campaigns? Didn't you get more favor in this event from 1 deep run than you have favor in 3 years of Torm Sword Coast? Wow, I'm getting called out. So here's the thing. I have the most favor in Torm because Torm is a permanent campaign in the sense that the Sword Coast will always have new adventures added. So I tend to almost always, dump all my time gate conversions and all my event conversions into Torm because it's always going to be useful. Whereas you see my Kellenborg favor is at E29. I have finished all the content in Tomb of Annihilation. I don't need any more favor there. Helm's favor, E31. I have finished all the content that currently exists in Helm in the Waterdeep campaign. I don't need any more favor there. I did put some into Tiamat's recently because I was trying to finish Tale of Two Champions. We are still getting more Tiamat. I may need to add more favor to that. But currently I have been able to complete all the content in all of these places with the favor that I see there. Now, it is very difficult for me to push deep in Torm because Torm is this 9 champion diamond formation. Whereas in an event, I can push with 10 champions, and it's easier to push deep in an event because there's like lower health and more gold. Like there's just these bonuses to make events easier for you. So I can push super deep in an event, and then I convert that into Torm. So I'm going to get a 5, let's see, well, we're E47. So I'm basically going to get a 5.7x multiplier against Torm. If we want to look at what that's going to be, where am I at? Yeah. So I'm going to end up jumping to 1.61 E43 Torm's favor. 1 deep push in Torm would not get me this. Multiple deep pushes in Torm would probably not get me that. I just can't push very far in Torm with 9-person formations. So that's why you see a lot of in-game players have a huge Torm number and low everything else. And they'll have a huge event thing, and that's probably, in some cases, bigger than their Torm. Yeah, it's going to catch up over time. Speaking of time, we are out of it today. Thank you for joining me for Gaarawarr's Guide to Items and Consumables. We'll be back next week with more. We'll have a new topic for this one. If you have just more general questions, because we didn't get to all the general questions, hit up Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything on Fridays. I just take there is no main topic that I discuss for an hour. It's just questions from a chat, all of you, the entire time. So find me then. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you to CNE. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to Jay for sending me messages in chat. I swear I'll read them. I'm getting used to it. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.